What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the PHDJ podcast with myself, Joe Bunn, and my man,
Mike Walter. What's going on, Joe? How are
is.
you?
What's up, my dude?
It was great seeing you last week in Atlantic City.
Don't lie to these people.
Are we playing it like that?
Yeah, no.
We could go. AC was great, dude.
We raged.
You look awesome.
We
Now,
raged.
We are pre-recording this 3 weeks now, I guess, before it drops. So, yeah.
Yeah.
If the world has ended in that time or something terrific has happened and Joe and I don't talk about it today, that's why.
Yeah, don't be offended.
We're recording this on August 1st. So
that is correct. It is August 1st. So happy August. Yeah. Happy new month. I'm about ready for summer to be over.
Time this drops, so August is almost over.
Damn it. So. It's damn near going to be fall. It's probably going to be cold in New Jersey by the time this comes out.
You know, it's funny. Growing up, I always remember when I was a school kid and I had, summer break, August 1st was always like the time to get serious.
Panic.
You're like, July, you can take your time, do whatever you want. But now you're like, holy now I only have a month left till school starts. So all that shit that we talked about doing, we got to get done.
And then all the, when the paper used to come out and your dad would read the paper, everything would say back to school sale.
Right.
School, and you would panic. You panic.
Yeah. And then Labor Day weekend was always the
that was it.
The Jerry Lewis telethon.
Oh, that's right.
And we would stay up all night because that was usually the last weekend.
Yes.
And we would stay up all night.
And back then he had like legit people on there, like stars.
It was all weekend long.
Yes, dude. Oh my God, I forgot about that, man.
Sunday into Monday, I forget what it was, but yeah, I mean that was like the rite of passage to like.
I used to watch that at my grandma's house.
Last bit of summer, you know what I mean?
Yes, dude. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
topic.
We digress. So today we're going to burn through this one pretty quick. Me and Mike are crazy busy today. Our friend, who works for a radio show, who has had me on before on Sirius XM, is the master of feeding me topics. So today we're going to talk about how to be successful at showcases and bridal shows. How to be successful at showcases and bridal shows. So I want to talk to you first, Mike, because quite frankly, until I met you, I had never heard of a showcase, or nobody down here had ever put on a showcase. Now, to be fair, I had done parties for vendors and open houses, but I had never done something where we invited in potential clients, and kind of quote unquote put on a show. So I know we've talked about it a little bit, but kind of just walk us through, how often you do it, not necessarily how much it costs, but, the things you need to pull it off, i.e. a venue, so on and so forth, and then how you're successful with it. You know what I mean? Just give me a top.
We do maybe, I guess, 5 a year probably. Yeah. So we space them out every other month. We don't bother doing one in the summer because people are traveling too much.
Same.
We probably do like 3 in the winter because that's the busiest time, and then the other 2 the rest of the year. Back in the day, if you remember when I had that big warehouse space, we actually held them back there.
Oh, that's right.
I had invested in a bunch of round tables and chairs, and so it was a lot easier to do that because it was just a matter of announcing the date, marketing it a little bit. The day of, I would just do some shopping. I would go to like Costco and get some sandwich platters and some beer and wine. Nowadays, it's a little bit different because fortunately, I've got great relationships with some banquet halls. So we basically just have to rent out their room, and I put air quotes around rent because it's, it's a midweek. It's a slow time for them. So I'm getting a super good deal on their room. And then we just market it. We usually print up invitations, and usually we plant it, schedule it, so it's right after maybe 2 or 3 bridal shows that we're at. So we use those shows as a way to, hey, if you like what you see tonight, come to this. And that's pretty much how we fill the room with that and people who have called and just haven't made a decision yet.
Mike, is a certain night work better than others for y'all?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that. We try to go with Wednesday or Thursday because we find that we get a lot of last minute signups, and so you don't have that opportunity. If you do a Monday night, you don't really have your last minute is Friday because you're probably out of the office all weekend. So we try to do Wednesday or Thursday just so we can get those last minute signups on Monday, Tuesday, and possibly Wednesday.
So when you go through it, kind of just walk us through just like the run of show, if you will, Mike. Like, is the first hour kind of like background music, somebody spinning yard?
Yeah, not even an hour, maybe a half hour. We're spinning, we're showing some videos.
Yeah.
Music videos up on the screen. We take this opportunity to promote our photo and video company. So we'll also be putting some pictures of beautiful brides up on the show. But then once we start our showcase, so if it's a 7:30 showcase, we're usually beginning our show around 8 o'clock, maybe a little after 8. and
everybody's gone by when, Mike? Is it over at 10 hard?
The showcase is over by, showcase is 30, 35 minutes, but then hopefully we spend an hour writing contracts because, I mean, that's the whole advantage of doing this type of show. Unlike a bridal show where there might be a fashion show next or another DJ performing, it's just us. So, we usually have coffee and cake and we encourage everybody to stick around. And then sometimes we're writing contracts for an hour. We're closing deals and taking deposits and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Oh, go ahead. So anyway, after the showcase.
So the showcase itself is, we walk through everything from ceremony music to bridal party introductions to getting people dancing, which this is where a lot of DJs get turned off because we use a lot of interactives, electric slide, Cupid shuffle, the wobble. We're getting people on the dance floor to participate in that stuff. A lot of DJs go, no way, that's not our style. Great, then don't do that. But it's still, if your style is mixing, then showcase some of your guys, mixing, doing a mix off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I talk about this extensively at the workshop, and Mike Walsh, if you remember, he started doing showcases, and that was his thing. He's like, we don't interact, we mix. And so he would have some of his guys doing like live mashups and blowing people away. And I remember him thanking me for the idea because he had great success with it. So,
shows in the coffee business. He's retired.
Right. I always say showcase your strengths, and if that's your strength, then showcase that.
Mike, did you get that text I sent you in the middle of that wedding about 2 weeks ago? And I was like, I hope you taught your guys this.
Yes, the get up. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw, I had a bride a few weeks ago who asked me, she like the week before her wedding, she said, I've got some girls that want to do this get up. Do you know how to do it? And I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't really learned the dance yet, but I'll try. Yeah. And I spent that weekend and tip of the cap to Rachel Lynch because she's put a couple of videos on her social media breaking the dance down and showing how to teach it. And so I learned it and I taught it that night. Nice. I really taught it, but I just let it. And I just got a Wedding Wire review from her. The bride's name is Stacy. And she mentions that. She said, Mike went above and beyond. She said, I asked him to teach to get up, and he was honest. He said he didn't really know it, but by the time of my wedding, he knew it, and he let it, and blah, blah, blah. So I was pretty proud.
As soon as that girl came up to me at that wedding, because I had been off for a few weeks, and it kind of broke, and she looked at me, she was like, the get up, and I'm like, oh shit, what is this? And then I'm like, oh yeah. And I kind of remember like Davis, my 11-year-old playing it in his room.
So now here's the question. We haven't put it into our bridal shows yet.
Right.
It would need to really catch on for us to put it into the bridal shows.
Yeah, right.
We had Watch Me Whip in the shows for a while.
Yeah.
But we've pulled it back out because it never gained the traction that like a wobble did,
Okay, so let's shift. Okay, so just to full transparency to the listeners, it's just the showcasing isn't something that we do, but certainly still on my radar is something to do.
But you do a fair amount of bridal shows, correct?
Oh yeah, that's what I was getting ready to shift gear to.
Good.
So the difference between us, 10 years ago and us now, Mike, and we've talked about this some, is we are very boutique heavy bridal shows. So maybe 100 brides, maybe 2 DJs, usually just one, versus 10 years ago, it was quarterly. It was at the fairgrounds. There would be 1,000 brides over 2 days and probably 12 to 15 DJs. And we just kind of got out of that, probably 7-8 years ago now and haven't looked back. My ROI just wasn't there. It was, again, 2 days of being there, a full day of loading in, staffing it. It just wasn't great. But I will say this, one, if you can do the boutique shows, I think you will gain a lot of traction. Number one, they don't usually cost as much money. Number two, you can do a very stripped down setup. In fact, I've done things before where they wouldn't even let us bring our pop-ups because they didn't match the theme or the decor.
Oh, wow. Right.
Like they literally made some, etched wooden version of our play button logo and put it up behind us. But I will say this, to be successful, I guess, getting back to Richie's original statement, a couple of things. One, make sure you've got the right people in the booth. Always, always, always. They've got the right personality. They're willing to hustle. We don't pay. I can't remember, Mike, do y'all pay staff to be at the wedding shows?
Well, the people who do setup. So like Tommy, when he brings the gear is making money, but no, my staff, it's up to them. If they want to show and promote themselves, they can. You said have the right people in the booth. Let me add one thing to that. Don't have too many people in the booth.
Correct.
Because if you have too much staff in the booth, it's just natural. All your guys are going to be standing around shooting the shit, telling stories. People are going to walk by because it looks uninviting.
Yep.
So you're better off having 2 or 3 people in the booth who are waiting to talk to people than a dozen people, because then it looks like brides are just not going to want to interrupt that.
Yeah. Or they're intimidated, that there's a bunch of dudes standing
right.
suits. Other thing is, in reference to the staffing, be able to have some people that you can leave there confidently and be able to leave. And I've always said this, I've been a huge fan, especially when I was early in this market. I would leave that booth for hours. Like in a 6-hour show, they wouldn't see me in that booth for an hour.
Because you're networking.
I was out there. Yeah. It was DJs, wedding planners, florists, cake makers. I didn't care who they were. I would literally go to that was my goal over the 2 days. I'm going to go to all 200 of these booths.
As long as you're not interrupting those people from talking to clients. So I usually do that before the doors open at a show.
Yep.
Once we're set up and sound checked, we're happy with it. That's when I walk the floor.
Yep.
And you know what? Even something as simple as like, hey, can I help you load in? Can I help you set up?
Dude.
9 times out of 10, they're going to say no. But I mean, just the fact that you make that offer. Yeah. I mean, I consider that to be invaluable for networking.
Yeah. And again, you're in a the DJ industry is male dominated, but the wedding industry is female dominated. I mean, go to Wedding MBA next month or the month
I
after.
plan on it.
Yeah, exactly. And look around.
Yeah.
But that's Mike's point. It's like, okay, I can help these people. You know what I mean? If they need help with labor or hanging something, like offer.
Right.
Get out there and network. Mike's right, though. Obviously you don't want to take away from them selling. So do it at kind of one of those lulls in the show, the very beginning of the day. Well, not right at the very beginning, but pre-door opening. And then normally as the show tapers off, or
if there's a fashion show. A lot of times if there's a fashion show, that draws all the brides away. So then that's like a downtime for vendors. So that could be another good time to do the schmooze.
One more thing I wanted to touch on, Mike. So we would give pricing out like on a little pre-printed postcard, because we had a lot of people trying to take our black business card and write pricing on it. Turn around, honey, let me write on your back kind of thing. What is you want to give your thoughts?
So I talked about this at a actually going back to the Wedding MBA. I did a seminar about bridal shows at the Wedding MBA like 2 years ago.
Yep.
One of the things, if you chat with somebody and want to get information from the bride, I highly recommend having a laptop to do that on, or a tablet, because the old days of taking out a clipboard and handwriting their stuff, that you look dated. You look like you're not up on the latest technology. So with DJ Event Planner, and as long as we have internet access, which if we don't have it through the hotel or wherever we are, we'll use it on our phones. Mm-hmm. We will enter their information right into DJ Event Planner, and we'll tell them, look, we'll email you the pricing. So that's our enticement. Once we get to talking to somebody, look, if you'd like to give me a little information, I can email you pricing on your day. So, a lot of couples are like, great. And we've literally had couples that we email and then they come back up to our booth like an hour later to set an appointment because they've had a chance to see everything. So, and then now, bottom line is we've entered them into our database so we can begin the follow-up process. So that's what I recommend.
That's smart.
If you have DJ Event Planner or any other platform where it's internet based and you can email right away, get their information, but get it by putting it into a laptop, not handwriting it, and then shoot them an email right away. Hey, it was great to meet you at the show today. Here's pricing on your day. And then if you have a showcase coming up, you can mention that. And by the way, if you like what you saw today, you want to see more, here's an invitation to our show.
Boom. There's your price of admission for this podcast right there, folks. 'Cause we weren't even doing that, and that's super smart. One more question, Mike. Just in terms of selling in general, are you, let's say there's a scale from 1 to 10 of aggressiveness at a show. Like, are you guys kind of stepping out in the aisle, doing the thing they do in Vegas where the strip club flyers, like popping them on the hand? Like, how, are y'all?
But I will say this, most of the shows that we do, they actually have this thing called the vendor passport, which I think is a brilliant idea. They have a list, so these brides get a piece of paper, and there's a list of every single vendor, and they have to get the initials of every vendor. So, pretty much every bride is going to step into your booth at some point at these shows to get your initials. And so the very simple question of, are you looking for entertainment for your wedding? If they go no, we go, great. And sometimes, like, especially if it's a slow time, we go, well, then I'm not initialing that. And, we make a joke like that. But yeah, I mean, I do like that. That gives them the opportunity. And yeah, listen, if you are working with a production company, you might want to throw that out as a suggestion, because it just gets and then what happens is the brides have to bring this piece of paper back.
They get a prize or something.
That puts them into the running for the honeymoon giveaway or whatever.
Right. Okay.
So they can't enter that giveaway without having their passport completed. But yeah, I mean, we're not jumping into the aisles. We're not. If somebody pauses in front of our booth, hey, are you looking for entertainment? Have you heard about us? How are the wedding plans coming along? Just a simple icebreaker question. And if they just keep walking, you go, okay, that wasn't my bride.
Now, also something different, Jersey versus North Carolina. The way, the fashion show thing does happen, there's usually an MC at that, and it is usually a DJ. But what you're saying in New Jersey is during the course of, let's say, an all-day wedding show, there are segments where you guys get to go up on this stage and perform?
Yeah, it's a truncated version of what I talked about earlier.
Right.
Usually like a 20-minute version of that showcase. But again, we're simulating bridal party introductions. If one of my singing DJs is there, he might sing the first dance. Okay. And then we're doing some interactives to get people on an dance floor.
And that's kind of similar to what the other competition would be doing as well?
Some of my competition does a remarkably similar showcase to ours. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. A little bit too similar, but whatever. It is what it is.
Oh man. All right, Mike. Anything else you want to touch on about being?
Well, listen, I think that this is definitely more than one episode.
Oh, 100%.
So we can, and it doesn't have to be next week, but we can bring this topic up again because, I mean, like I said, I've done an entire seminar for the Wedding MBA about this. We talk about this extensively at the workshop. So there's a lot more to be discussed. But yeah, I think this was some good beginner information about showcasing.
Quick little turn and burn nuggets for you.
Exactly.
Entering the thing into the entering a potential client's name into the CRM right off the get-go is
well, here's what I've always learned. You give somebody a brochure or a card or something, it goes into a bag
pile
and it never gets looked. And by the way, speaking of bags, we bring bags to our shows.
Nice.
Because some of the shows give you bags, but some of them don't. And so when you see, and it's just branded with our logo and I think the website on the back, but when you see a bride walking along with her hands, filled with we go, can we help you with that? And we give them a bag. So now they're walking around with our logo on that.
I love that.
It's kind of a cool giveaway. But, just like at a DJ convention, if you're listening to this and you were at DJ Expo last week, you got a bag of stuff. Have you looked at it yet? Probably not. Right. It'll sit next to your desk for about 6 months and you'll never look at it. And that's what happens to 99% of the brochures you hand to people at shows. So I would just as soon get an email onto your phone.
Get them in there. Get them in there.
Exactly. All right, everybody.
Thank you guys so much. Later, Mike. Appreciate you.
Joe. Have a great week.
All right, brother. Bye.